Wrestling Cars YouTube channel. My name is Laura and I will give you an impression of the Ford Mustang from 2011 Coyote edition. The Ford Mustang. For years, this is a well-known car for everybody that wants to drive something American. Ford has started in June 1903 and it has not slowed down ever since. Literally, because they have gone a long way since the first Ford that ever went into mass production. Now let's go back in time.
There's one car that takes you anywhere you want to go. The Model T. Strong, sturdy, with a will of its own.
It's amazing to see that cars have gone this far since the first Ford that came out. Also known as the Model T. A 4-door Model T cost $850 brand new. You could choose any color you want, as long as it's black, Henry Ford used to say. Later on, a Model T went for $300 and was one of the most affordable cars out there. Ford started producing the Mustang in 1964. That is 55 years ago. The car was also known as the pony car, probably because of that horse that's on the grill. Every time a new model came out, it was faster and bigger, until the oil crisis struck in 1973. So, how did the new Mustang look like then? It must be looking better, right? Well, here it is. Yeah, you can decide for yourself if you like the design. At least they kept the ponies in the front. When you compare the sales of the first generation Mustang and the second generation in terms of sales, the first generation did it a lot better. Personally, I believe that the first Ford Mustang looked better than the second generation. You have to understand that as time goes on, cars change over time. Back then the oil crisis was a big thing. Nowadays everybody is worried about the global warming, and more electric cars start to appear where I live. Is that the future for the Mustang? I hope that's not the case. Now you've got a short history lesson of the 1967 Ford Mustang, and now let's go from that car to the 2011 Ford Mustang. The Ford Mustang is considered as a budget car in America, but here in the Netherlands this car is pretty luxurious. You don't see many people driving this car. Why? Because it's expensive here. In America you pay like $30,000, but here in the Netherlands it goes up to 50,000, maybe even 60,000 euros. This particular car is the Coyote edition, 5.0 liter cylinder engine. Later on I found out that Ford Mustangs go for way more money. They can go up to 80,000 euros brand new. This Ford Mustang has a manual transmission. Now that I know that Americans love to have an automatic transmission, but I believe if you want a more feeling for the car, you get a manual transmission. It is a lot more fun to use, and it adds to the experience. Here we have the steering wheel. It has some beautiful functions. For example, you can control the volume for the radio. You can also use hands-free call when you're on the telephone with someone, and also you can adjust the cruise control. So very basic functions, but it gets the job done. Another thing which is pretty sad, this car doesn't have an ashtray. So you cannot light your cigarette or smoke a Cuban cigar, but you do have a 12-volt thing right here, and there you can connect your navigation system or something else. Here we have the gauge cluster, and it is shown in miles and kilometers as well. A nice feature that this car has is that you can change the color of the gauge cluster to what you like. Now we go on to the infotainment system.
it is pretty basic for this Ford Mustang. Unfortunately, I don't know if other Mustangs have a more advanced infotainment system, but this one is very basic. You got your radio, you can play a CD, and of course you have your heated seats, which is quite nice. So overall, the car comes with very basic functions, and I love a car that is very basic because less things can break.
Now let's move on to the engine. This Mustang was a change to speak to the enthusiast by bringing back the iconic 5.0 liter engine. However, this time it was boosted to 412 horsepower. Ford produced a remarkable engine with lower emissions, better economy, more power and less vibration. Now another thing that I want to point out is that you cannot fold the mirrors in. So if you have a garage which is very small, be careful with it.
The Ford Mustang is definitely not a family car. If you're tall, I'm not tall, but friends of mine are taller than me. We live in Holland, and lots of people are tall. So your head will definitely hit the ceiling. But for me, I am comfortable.
Would the Mustang be an iconic car if it didn't appear in many movies? I don't think so. The Mustang appeared in the movie Bullet, and I believe it all started there of how the car was put into action. Now let's summarize some things. Model: Mustang GT Toyota 5.0 liter. Price: $30,000 US. Price in Europe: around 70,000 euros. Horsepower: 412 at 6,500 RPM. Torque: 390 pounds. Cylinder capacity: 4.9 liters. 0 to 100 in 10.2 seconds. The Ford Mustang. It's not just a car, it's an icon that represents the American industry, and it does that very well. When you drive here in Holland with that car, heads will turn and look at that car because of its beauty and design. And like I said before, you don't see this car very often. I want to thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to miss nothing of the Whistling Cars YouTube channel. My second video will be about what it's like to own a 15 years old Cadillac here in Holland, in Europe, and what the costs are. Later on I would love to do some comparisons between European cars and American cars. Stay tuned.